Have you ever wanted to do something that sounded amazing, but it wasn't until later that you discovered the dark side? Like when you finally get to date the girl of your dreams, but then you figure out that they're rude to waiters and chew with their mouth open. Well, I went into Jiu-Jitsu blind from a young age and I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I love the sport, and it hasn't been until recent years that I really started thinking about all the hard truths that I've encountered. So instead of setting potential new wipeouts up on a path that's going to just hurt them in the long run, let's teach everybody the hard truths of Jiu-Jitsu. And since I prefer to just rip off the band-aid, the first thing is, you will quit. Now, of course, there are obvious reasons why people will quit, like they don't enjoy the sport, they have real life issues, blah, blah, blah. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about things within Jiu-Jitsu that will make you quit. You'll quit from lack of progression. You'll quit from getting your ass beat. You'll quit because you think the coach hates you, probably does. You'll quit because there's so much to learn. You'll quit because you're a girl and the sport is 99% men. It doesn't matter the reason. A high percentage of people quit. And that's fine, because Jiu-Jitsu will always be there for you if you're able to make it back. But you need to understand that because it's very likely you're gonna quit, you should enjoy every step of the process while you can. It helps if you're just honest with yourself. What are the main reasons why you would quit? Hell, even I ask myself when I'm gonna be done with Jiu-Jitsu, and I pretty much know my main reason, which is the next harsh truth of the sport, and that's that Jiu-Jitsu will completely ruin your body. At its core, what is Jiu-Jitsu? It's a sport where you submit your opponent by choking them or using joint lock submissions. In other words, by fucking up somebody else's body. Turns out, practicing a sport every day where you hurt each other will indeed hurt. One downfall of humans is that as we age, our bodies deteriorate rapidly after our prime. Unfortunately, any sport you do with two meatheads going at it probably will accelerate that. If I'm being honest, I could make a whole video on all the injuries I've suffered throughout my training, and I'm only 30 years old. Now you can practice safer, you can have controlled rounds, you can stretch and be doing everything just right, but that never seems to work for everybody I see on their way out. Even when you take a tame approach, which cuts down the Jiu-Jitsu fun by like 80%, it only takes one instance where you're sidelined because of rehab for a whole year and you have a lifelong injury. But life can't just be enjoyed by sitting behind your desk and playing around with figures, so I totally understand why you want to go out there and use your body. Just be aware that Jiu-Jitsu is going to have a much higher injury rate compared to something like pickleball or some other boring hobby. And really, one huge reason for that is because you will meet a lot of jackasses and egos. The one binding connection for all men is that we believe we can beat anybody up. Maybe you don't anymore, but it's all crossed our minds some point throughout our life. Normally you adjust, mature, drop the ego as you age like most other adults, but I found that Jiu-Jitsu actually is a magnet for these types of people. Imagine there's a legal sport that is very easy to access that will teach you real techniques to hurt people. Now picture a jackass from Wall Street high on Adderall that can do the same sport. Jiu-Jitsu normally ends up humbling a lot of people because someone smaller than them will end up choking them. But other times, they don't adjust their attitude at all. They rank up and have some experience, and now they go into every role trying to take your head off, whether you're new, a girl, or just because they like it. Now in my experience, the more you train, the less you're going to encounter these people. But like I said in the injury section, it only takes one occurrence where it's going to completely alter your Jiu-Jitsu trajectory. Even if the motto is to keep your ego at the door. Remember, the Gracies started it by literally beating people up on the streets to prove that it works. So if you have an ego, try your hardest to drop it immediately or just completely ignore these people. Because for some of them, Jiu-Jitsu is their life, and this is my next huge hard truth, is that Jiu-Jitsu won't fix yours. I understand that life is difficult, but I've read, seen, and experienced using Jiu-Jitsu as a coping mechanism instead of fixing actual issues. I have a personal story that relates greatly to this truth about Joe Schmo. Joe was addicted to substances but was able to get clean with one huge issue. He switched his addiction to Jiu-Jitsu. He trained constantly, went way too hard, and eventually tore a ligament in his finger. Now it's nothing major, it was just going to be about 3 to 6 months off and it would heal itself without even needing surgery. Now this pain in his finger was stopping him from training and he knew he couldn't do this, so he went to the coach telling him that it wasn't possible, otherwise he was going to end up relapsing because he needed to keep training Jiu-Jitsu to keep his mind occupied. The coach basically told him that if you don't take the time off, this pain is never going to go away, it's never going to heal, and it's going to keep getting injured, especially with how he trains. Instead, Joe was able to find a surgeon, get his finger amputated, and return to training with a lifelong change. And a few months later, he was kicked out of the gym because he was mad he didn't get promoted and he was willing to fight the coach over it. Clearly he wasn't well adjusted and made some horrible decision-making skills, but he used Jiu-Jitsu as a crutch to fix his life when that's not what it's meant for. So if you want to end up keeping your finger, make sure you go in Jiu-Jitsu with some clear guidelines. It's not going to fix everything, and you can control it, unlike the next issue, which are gym politics. You'd think something like Jiu-Jitsu, built on respect and discipline, would be free from drama. But nope. You may think some promotions aren't fair, some students are treated better, the students have insane beef for no reason, and you'd be right about all of it. The best advice is to focus on your own training. It's pretty clear on my channel, I've been to a lot of different gyms. I know all the gyms in my area, and everybody has drama. No matter how nice the gym is, how friendly everybody may seem to you, and even if it's a tight-knit community, there's always gonna be a bad seed. And the truth is, unless you're the one causing the drama, you really can't escape it other than focusing on your own training. The less involved you get in groups, the less issues you're gonna have to deal with. When I was a blue belt all the way to probably through mid-purple belt, I went to training, did everything I was supposed to do, rolled, and left. I didn't even talk during the class or repetitions. It wasn't until years later when I started talking that people were calling me Dexter behind my back because I reminded them of a serial killer. But guess what? I avoided all the gym drama this way, improved my skills, and I even have successful TV shows made after me. Now there are so many other harsh truths, such as people always have an excuse no matter how good you performed, the entire competition side of it and how you are very unlikely to be successful and in that 0.1% of pros that make it, or even that people want to see you fail. But I don't like to train Jiu-Jitsu this way. I want to see you guys succeed. So I listed the hard truths out that are going to be the easiest to encounter so you know that you can try and avoid them. Hopefully with this knowledge, everybody can get the most out of the sport and enjoy their time doing it before we're all forced to quit.